going on, guys? Damn, it is too nice to be going to work today. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my job, but sometimes it's way too nice to be stuck in a cubicle answering phones. Anyway, guys, how you guys doing? Hope you guys had a good weekend. Today, what I want to talk about is maintenance. Maintenance on a motorcycle. Why it's so important, you know? I mean, I'm sure everybody says, yeah, maintenance is important. But on a motorcycle, I just feel it's uber important. And the reason I feel that it's uber important is because it's not like a car, man. You only got two wheels protecting you from hitting the ground. Something on your motorcycle breaks, you could be in line for a real messed up day, man. In the words of Cycle Cruiser, but he says a different word. Yeah. The first thought I have on this is, if you want to get into motorcycling, be prepared to do some of the maintenance on your motorcycle yourself, because you're going to end up getting your hands dirty. If you are not the type that likes to get your hands dirty, you don't like to do anything on your vehicle, if you get a flat tire and you call AAA to change your tire, bro, just don't get a motorcycle. It's probably not for you, because you're going to be the type that never maintained your bike, and it's going to cause you to have a wreck at one time. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing it will, but if you don't maintain your motorcycle and it breaks in the middle of a ride, you can have a catastrophic crash and potentially kill yourself. So my first thought is, if you don't want to work on your motorcycle at all, as far as touch it, get dirty, you should probably just skip the hobby altogether, because there's going to be maintenance that you have to do, you know. And unless you're so rich that you can afford a mechanic to do it all the time, but there's still checks before you go on a ride that you should do to your own motorcycle, and you should know what you're looking at, what you're looking for, to decide whether your motorcycle is safe to ride or not. There's an acronym out there for pre-ride checks, and it's C.L.O.C.S. That's Tango, Charlie, Lima, Oscar, Charlie, Sierra. And pretty much every time you go on a ride, you should at least be checking these things on your bike. Now, the T stands for tires. Now, you're going to look at your tires. Of course, you're going to want to make sure they're at the right air pressure. Not the max PSI, like I hear so many people say they run when they call and talk to me at J&P Cycles. But you're going to want to make sure it says what your owner's manual says you should run. Or on your swing arm sticker. Every motorcycle tells you what the recommended air pressure is for your tires somewhere on your motorcycle, unless you paint over it, but it will say it. The C, well, before we go to C, let me reiterate, T is tires, but it encompasses everything around your tires. That's your wheel. That's the valve stem on the wheel. You're going to make sure, if it's rubber, make sure it ain't dry rotted. Make sure it's not going to, leak air. Make sure it's good to go. You know, things can hit it, you know. It could get messed up. Brakes. You're going to check your brakes. Check around your calipers. Make sure the calipers there's not leaking brake fluid out of the caliper. You know, make sure the seals are good. You know, and you're going to want to check that stuff pretty often, pretty regularly, especially on your front brakes, because that's your main stopping power. Something like 75-80% of your stopping power comes from the front brake lever. Which, off side topic, when these Harley guys put the big wheels on the front of their bike and they decide they want to run with just a back brake, probably the dumbest thing you can possibly do. But that's besides the point. But yeah, so T is everything encompassing your tires. So, and then you got C, which stands for your controls. Everything around your controls, your grips, your buttons, your switches, your levers. If your bike stays outside, your levers have, they could very easily rust out and fail on a ride, in mid-ride. It could happen. So yeah, on C, those things you should probably check before every ride, because you don't want to get stranded on the side of the road, or even worse, wrecked because your spring on one of your levers rusted out and broke. That's just me. L in the C.L.O.C.S is going to be lights. Of course, you're going to want to make sure all your lights work. Number one, visibility. Two, if you're turning left and you don't have a left blinker in the front, I mean, that sets up a car to run right in front of you or turn in front of you, or, especially if, it could just mess you up. Brake lights, you're going to want to make sure that. Not only that, you can definitely get pulled over and get a ticket for riding with lights that are out. Happens all the time. Usually cops give you a warning if you show up to court. They'll throw it out if it's fixed. But, I mean, that just takes time out of your day. It's a hassle. So, man, just check your lights. That should be done almost every ride. O is for oil. And when I say oil, I'm talking about all your fluids, not just engine oil, because I mean, you got brake fluid if you got a hydraulic clutch, you got brake fluid in your brake, master cylinder in your front and your rear if you got hydraulic brakes. I mean, you want to check this stuff pretty regular. Very important. If you have a Harley, of course you're going to have your primary fluid, you're going to have your transmission oil. Just check that. Of course, with oil, I'm always going to check around my fork seals, see if you got a dust trail or dirt trail indicating you might have a fork seal going bad, because you'll see the oil coming out, indicating some of your fork fluid, the fork oil is getting out. But yeah, man, you just want to check all your fluids, and that's pretty regular. Some bikes have a sight window, some bikes have a dipstick. Just refer to your owner's manual of what it should be. And the next C is going to be your chassis, which would include your frame, your chain, pretty much all that stuff. Check your chain. Do regular chain maintenance. Make sure it's you have the right kind of chain slack. Make sure you lubricate your chain. Now, if it's an O-ring chain, we get it. The oil is inside the O-rings. But you still want to maintain the chain, because rust is bad. It can cause the metal to weaken after time. And if your chain breaks mid-ride, you're going to have a bad day. It's going to hurt. Harley guys, check your belt tension. That's really important. You want to make sure, of course, you're trailing, your alignment's good, because number one, especially for belt guys, that's the quickest way to get a cut belt and break a belt. So I mean, just check everything. Check your neck bearings. Make sure you got free movement on your handlebars. Make sure you got, I think that's pretty much it with the chassis. And the last S is your side stand, which is pretty important. Quick story, I was riding to school one day when I was in school for Ducati, and I got to school one day and put my side stand down, and my bike almost fell over because the screw holding it in backed out mid-ride. And had I actually done a C.L.O.C.S that day, I probably would have caught that screw being a little bit loose. So I sat on my bike until somebody came outside, because I couldn't leave it. And pretty much somebody came outside. I brought her around back. Obviously, I went to school for Ducati, so I got a fastener that would work. I put some red Loctite on it. Yeah, that screw's never coming out again. I don't see any reason for me to take that fastener off ever again. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the main thing I really wanted to talk about. Those are probably the most important checks that you're going to have to do by yourself if you're thinking about becoming a motorcyclist and getting involved with motorcycles. And if you're not willing to at least check those things on your own, ladies and gentlemen, I suggest you really don't ride motorcycles. Because, I mean, you really, if you don't check that stuff, can have an oversight that could cost you your life. And that's really all I got to say about that. Well, if you guys are off today, take care. Have a ride. It's really nice if you're in the Florida area. Ride safe. And I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.